Hello and welcome back to the Watford Way for a Watford transfer update. And the big news today being that Watford have offered Will Hughes a new 5-year contract, making one of the highest earners at the club. He's not rejected it, but he's also not accepted the deal. So we're going to be talking a bit more about that later in the stream. Also, some information on Kucho, where his future is. Isaac's success as well, a bit more about him, plus players going out as well, the likes of Zinchenko, Kina, a few more updates, around them players at Watford as well, and kind of what their futures entail. So I hope you're going to enjoy this live stream. All this information, by the way, coming from Adam Leventhal from The Athletic. I've left a link to their article in the description down below, so make sure to go check that out if you haven't already. And I think it's only right we start off with Will Hughes and his future ultimately at Watford. So the information here coming directly from The Athletic. It says Watford have offered Will Hughes a new 5-year contract, which would make him one of the club's top earners. Obviously, you've got Troydini, who's on a high wage, Andre Gray. So Will Hughes would most likely be alongside them, earning 60,000-70,000 pounds a week potentially. But it says collectively, Will Hughes and his agent are reluctant to sign the deal due to certain terms within it. Now, it doesn't actually say in the Athletic what these terms are, but what we can presume is these would be clauses and stuff like that. So, for example, because of the COVID pandemic, obviously Watford have lost a lot of money. If we was to get relegated, there would probably be some sort of wage reduction clause or something in that contract that obviously Will Hughes wouldn't be happy with, as I'm sure most people obviously want to earn as much money as possible, and especially football players who only have short careers, and they obviously want good contracts. So you can't blame Will Hughes for that. Obviously, being a Watford fan, it's very frustrating seeing one of your best players refusing to sign a deal. There's obviously interest from Aston Villa, as you've seen from the thumbnail in this video. So there's a lot going on around Will Hughes this summer. Obviously, on Twitter, I don't know if you guys are on Twitter, but a lot of people have noticed that Will Hughes hasn't been part of that main training group that are getting prepared in pre-season for the Premier League. Will Hughes hasn't been spotted. Same with a few other players. I think Nathaniel Chalobah's not been spotted. There's a few more players who haven't been spotted, who are players whose futures are up in the air. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Adam, welcome to the stream, mate. Hope you're doing well. He says, if we lose Hughes, he thinks we will go down. Wow, bold statement from you, Adam. He runs the midfield. It will be hard to find someone with his quality. And I think we've seen. Adam, I think you do have a point. I think we've seen Watford getting prepared, this transfer window, bringing in midfield reinforcements. Imran Louza kind of plays that Will Hughes box-to-box role. And Peter Atebo, I think I said his name correctly. We brought him in as well, who again is kind of like a box-to-box player. And, the Stoke fans really, really liked him. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what Will Hughes' future is. Ellis is in chat. I hope you're doing well, Ellis. So moving on from Will Hughes, obviously that is quite a big talking point of this stream, but there is a lot more information to go through as well. And in terms of replacements, if Will Hughes does leave, Mario Lemina from Southampton, it says in The Athletic, as I said, all this information is coming via The Athletic. He's been strongly considered by Watford. So Mario Lemina, I'm sure you all know who he is. Again, very, very similar to Will Hughes, the box-to-box role. Wouldn't call him a creative midfielder, but he would be a very adequate replacement, I would think. Definitely a quality player. I think we were linked with him. It must have been, 3 or 4 years ago now, we were linked with Mario Lemina. So good to see us being in for him. It might mean Will Hughes will be leaving, but we'll just have to wait. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed he will accept the contract, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Obviously, it mentions here as well Peter Atebo arriving from Stoke City, and as I said, Imran Louza arriving from France as well. And it says interest also remains. This is quite interesting in Lewis Ferguson, obviously from Aberdeen, but it's also mentioned again that Matty Longstaff link from Newcastle. So obviously Watford must have been a few months ago now, were being linked with Matty Longstaff. It's been mentioned again in this article. So I suppose probably if Will Hughes or Chalobah leave, you know, one or two of these players we've been linked with here, you know, might be coming in, which is really, really interesting. Right, moving down in the article, talks a little bit about Nathaniel Chalobah, saying he's in the same boat as Will Hughes. I don't know if you're aware, but Will Hughes and Nathaniel Chalobah both only have a year left on their contract, which is a little bit frustrating that we've kind of let their contracts run down that far. Obviously, it can't be helped with COVID and that whole situation. The club's finances were ruined quite a lot by that, as were a lot of other clubs. But yeah, both of our most important players really in that promotion run with a year left in their contract, and we can either keep them for that year and let them go on a free, which would be a stupid decision, or hopefully, fingers crossed, we can pay them what they want and get them to renew. But obviously, it's not that easy. The club has to consider finances. If we got relegated again, if there was another COVID crisis or something like that. So it's obviously really, really difficult. I just hope we can at least get one of them to renew. I quite like Will Hughes to stay. I've got to be honest. I think Will Hughes is fantastic and probably could play for any top 10 Premier League side, really. Moving down here, it talks about other players who could fill in for Will Hughes and Nathaniel Chalobah if they leave. The likes of Domingos Quina, Tom Deli-Bashiri and Dan Gosling. It says here they could all be fighting for first team spots if Will Hughes and Chalobah leave. So again, opportunities for them players. And something interesting here. Now, I did tweet about this earlier, and Adam Leventhal kind of corrected my tweet slightly, which was absolutely fair enough. But it says here that Josh King and Ashley Fletcher obviously joined the club. But in the article, it does say they're joined to be front-line strikers alongside Troy Deeney. So from what I gathered there, from what Adam was saying, it looks like Josh King, Ashley Fletcher and Troy Deeney are all kind of going to be fighting it out for that starting spot now. Will Xisco continue with the 4-3-3 formation? I hope so. He might go more defensive in the Premier League. He might panic. I don't know what Xisco is going to do yet. I really hope he sticks with the 4-3-3 formation. But to add to this point, it also says Kucho Hernandez is obviously training with the first team squad for the first time since he's been a Watford player. Obviously, he's been out on a lot of loan deals. And it says here, now it doesn't say fourth choice, but it says fourth option. So the way I read that was, Josh King, Ashley Fletcher, Troy fighting it out for that starting striker spot, and Kucho, will stay this season, but kind of as a fourth choice option and not really playing too many minutes. Adam did correct me on Twitter, and he didn't say he didn't say he meant that, but from how I read the article, that's kind of what I inferred. So read into that what you will. But it looks like our strikers for this season will be Josh King, Ashley Fletcher, Troy Deeney, and Kucho. And obviously Pedro, Dennis, Bar, Senna, Sarr, they can all fight out for the wide flank positions. So very, very competitive front line actually going into this new season, which is really, really good to see. Stipe Perica actually is also mentioned in this, just kind of with the link to Barnsley. Barnsley, it looks like they can't afford the £1.5 million Watford are asking for him. But look, I think Stipe Perica is going to be leaving Watford this summer, which is a shame because I thought he showed some quality in the Championship. But with the players we've brought in, I think that was to be expected. So not a surprise to see Stipe Perica leave. Isaac's success also mentioned in the article. Good end to the season, scored a really, really good goal against Swansea City. Don't know if you remember that. Absolutely fantastic goal. Volley into the top left-hand corner. Looks like he's going to be leaving on loan, not permanently. Looks like Isaac's success will be leaving on loan to Udinese, which is obviously Watford's partner club, if you wasn't aware of that already. Also owned by the Pozzos, who own Watford. Udinese is a club in Italy. and a lot of players go between the two clubs to kind of help out financially. Really, it's obviously a lot cheaper to loan players between clubs rather than purchasing them, and especially considering they're owned by the same person, Gino Pozzo. That's obviously quite beneficial for both clubs. And not really much else in the article. One notable thing before we reach the end of the article, actually, Pontus Dahlberg again looks to be leaving on loan, which isn't a surprise. And Daniel Bachmann looks to be confirmed as Watford's #1 goalkeeper as well. It says here the pecking order for the goalkeepers essentially will be Daniel Bachmann, Ben Foster, the Cycling GK, and Rob Elliott. So Daniel Bachmann, Watford #1, heading into the new Premier League season. Pontus Dahlberg out on loan. Ben Foster as backup, and obviously Rob Elliott. If worse comes to worse, Rob Elliott is there to fill in if all our goalkeepers got injured. So that pretty much sums up Adam's article. Yeah, in terms of my thoughts on it, as I said, I really want Will Hughes to sign that contract if possible. Same with Nathaniel Chalobah, of course. But in terms of the overall squad we got at the moment, I think we're pretty much set to go. Maybe one more midfielder, as I said, if Will Hughes or Nathaniel Chalobah leave. But aside from that, I think goalkeepers, we're fine. Fullbacks, we're fine. Centre-backs, I think we're just about okay. Maybe bringing one more player, but doesn't look to be happening. Midfield, if Chalobah and Hughes stay, brilliant. Don't bring anyone else in because we are stacked in that area. The only place I'd maybe look to strengthen, just thinking about it, oh, maybe not actually, maybe not. I was thinking maybe right wing. I think that maybe the competition for Sarr isn't quite there, but you know, we've got Pedro, Dennis, Quadoibar, Sema, Zinkernagel, all there to fill in if necessary. What wasn't mentioned in this article, actually, and what has been mentioned today from other outlets, is that Philip Zinkernagel could be leaving Watford on loan, which to me is a baffling decision because, you know, correct me in chat if I'm wrong, but I'm sure Philip Zinkernagel, obviously coming in January, and he finished the season our top assister in the Championship. I think with 6 assists, 5 assists, and he'd only played half the season. He'd not even played half the season. I think he only played 11 or 12 games. So Philip Zinkernagel, to me, is a really, really talented player. I think it's a fantastic asset to have. So it would be a shame to see him leave on loan. Same with Domingos Quina. I think we do need to keep some creativity in the midfield areas. So I do hope we at least keep Quina or Zinkernagel. I don't want them both to go out on loan. But aside from that, I think I've covered everything in this transfer update. So thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And of course, we'll keep you updated across all our social medias on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and here on YouTube with any other news that breaks in the world of Watford. I'm sure some of you have seen, I've also launched a new account called Footy Slice. I've got a YouTube channel for that, and we've also got a Twitter and Instagram page. You can follow us on there. So it's at Footy Slice. And yeah, that's kind of updating you on the rest of the world in terms of football news. So again, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate you being here, and we'll catch you for another live stream very, very soon. Bye-bye, guys.